Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the football betting series here on YouTube Premier League edition. With August firmly in the rearview mirror, our overall record stands at 14 wins, 5 losses and 2 pushes for a total series profit of £145 and 49 pence at this point. As the calendar ticks over to September, our record for the month resets, so we're going to have to do it all again. I've got 4 picks in today's episode, so if you think I'm talking some sense, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. One disclaimer before we get on with things, coming off an international break is a time to exercise some caution. Of my 4 picks, 3 of them will be taking half stake to limit the risk as players get warmed up for the season once again. Without further ado, let's get on with the picks. We kick things off with 7th place Bournemouth playing host to 11th place Brighton, and the Cherries really impressed last time out away to Tottenham. Evanilson got Bournemouth off to the best possible start as he opened the scoring after just 5 minutes. His left-footed strike was helped past Vicario thanks to a slight deflection, but it's all worth the same at the end of the day to give Bournemouth the 1-0 lead. And from here on out, Bournemouth didn't simply sit back. Despite their host taking control of the possession, it was actually Bournemouth that managed to generate more of the shooting opportunities. They managed to put together 4 times the amount of shots and 8 times the XG as they looked the more likely side to go on and score the second. Alas, this would not happen and Bournemouth would pick up the 1-0 win away at Spurs. In terms of form, that's now back-to-back Premier League wins following their opening day loss to champions Liverpool. They host a Brighton side who continued their impressive form against Manchester City in their last Premier League game. Despite falling a goal behind thanks to Erling Haaland, in a first half in which Manchester City dominated, the Seagulls really took control of things in the second period. This pressure would end up telling as Nunez's handball would present Brighton an opportunity from the penalty spot in the 67th minute. Ex-Manchester City player James Milner managed to convert the penalty kick to level the scores, and this equaliser really took Manchester City out of their stride as Brighton would come on stronger and stronger as the game wore on. Before a long ball from the back gave Guruba the opportunity to run on, he faked out Trafford and one of the recovering defenders to dispatch Cooley in the 89th minute to win the game for the Seagulls. In terms of form, it's 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat for Brighton, as they've made a solid, if unspectacular, start to the season. I don't think they're going to be in any real danger of relegation this season, and if they have a good season, they could push for the Conference League or Europa League spots. When we take a look at the head-to-head records, the last meeting between these sides took place in February, back at the Amex. Brighton managed to win 2-1 thanks to João Pedro and Danny Welbeck, cancelling out Justin Kluivert's contribution for the away side. That result made it back-to-back wins for Brighton over Bournemouth and carried out an impressive run of 6 Premier League games in a row without defeat. The last time Bournemouth took all 3 points, we have to go back to January of 2020, just before the lockdowns in the United Kingdom, as Harry Wilson, Callum Wilson and a Pascal Gross own goal saw the Cherries pick up a 3-1 win. My prediction for today's game is that these sides won't be any real trouble of relegation, and they're definitely Premier League quality in every department. I do like both teams to score in this one. Bournemouth have only seen both teams to score in one of their last 3 Premier League games, but this hasn't been from a want of goal-scoring opportunities being created. Whereas Brighton, they've seen both teams to score in 2 of their last 3 Premier League matches, and could have seen 3 out of 3 against Everton if they converted their 2.4 XG. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, we can see that both of the last 2 and 3 of the last 4 meetings between these sides saw both teams to score. Just coming off an international break, I will be backing both teams to score, but only for a half stake to open up the episode. Second selection sees 8th place Crystal Palace playing host to 6th place Sunderland. And Crystal Palace, they managed to put 3 past Aston Villa in their last game. Mateta scored a penalty in the first half with Mark Guehi and Ismail Assar adding 2 more in the second period for a really convincing 3-0 win. Villa didn't perform to quite their normal standards, but credits where it's due for the Eagles to take advantage of this. In terms of form, that does mean that Crystal Palace are one of 3 sides that are unbeaten in their first 3 Premier League games. They're also unbeaten in 6 across all competitions this season. Despite the loss of Eze, Glasner has got the Eagles off to a really positive start to the season. They play a Sunderland side who picked up a win in their last game at home to Brentford. Following a relatively drab first half, the game did burst into life in the dying stages. Brentford did manage to win a penalty around the hour mark due to some rough handling in the box. However, Schade could not convert from the spot thanks to a really strong save from Rolfs. However, Brentford would make the breakthrough in the 77th minute thanks to Igor Thiago, as his header crashed off the crossbar to open the scoring. However, this lead would only last for 5 minutes, as there would be a second penalty awarded in the game, this time for Sunderland. Enzo Lefebvre would convert to level the scores at 1-1, and it appeared for the longest time that this would be the end of the scoring. However, substitute Wilson Isidore stole all 3 points in the 96th minute as his header crept under Cian Kelleher to score for a 2-1 Sunderland win. In terms of form, it's now 2 wins from 3 to start the year, and it's been a fantastic start for the Black Cats. However, both of these wins have come in Sunderland's home games, and their only away fixture was the 2-0 loss to Burnley. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, it has been a few years since these sides last played. Sunderland ran out 4-0 winners back in February of 2017. Lamine Kone, Didier Ndong and a Jermaine Defoe brace saw the Black Cats bag a 4-0 victory. And that win saw Sunderland and Crystal Palace split the points across that season. The reverse fixture seeing the Eagles pick up a 3-2 win at the Stadium of Light, with goal contributions from Joe Ledley, James McCarthy and Christian Benteke, which overpowered yet another Jermaine Defoe brace. My prediction for this game is that both sides have made a positive start to the season, and both will come into this game with confidence. However, all of the good things that Sunderland have accomplished this season have been at home, and I think at Selhurst Park they may struggle. The Eagles will also be really happy to have kept Mark Gahey on deadline day, and they've kept the core of the squad together that did really well last season. I'm leaning towards Crystal Palace in this one, and at odds of 1.7 it seems about right. I'm going to be backing Crystal Palace to pick up a win for a half stake here in bet number 2. Our third pick sees 18th place Fulham playing host to 12th place Leeds, and Fulham, they were bested in the West London derby in their last match against Chelsea. João Pedro scored late on in the first half with a header to give the Blues a 1-0 lead. This lead would then be doubled by Enzo Fernandez from the penalty spot, following a handball from Ryan Sessegnon under controversial circumstances. Taking a look at the second half numbers, Fulham did try to get a goal back, but their 6 shots resulted in only 1 big chance and just 0.71 xg. I think perhaps their heads dropped following some controversy in the VAR booth, disallowing Josh King's opening goal in the first half, and from that decision, I don't really know if Fulham ever recovered mentally. In terms of form, they're winless to this point in the season, and they're hoping to pick up 3 points against a newly promoted side in Leeds. Speaking of which, Leeds earned a point in their most recent game against Newcastle, in what I think will be viewed by many as a very respectable draw. The Magpies can make all the excuses they want around the Isak situation and Gordon's suspension, but really this is a game that Eddie Howe would have targeted for 3 points. Taking a look at the numbers, it was a rather dull game as both sides combined for just 1.15 xg. However, Leeds did their job. They stopped Newcastle from playing and earned a solid draw from their performance. In terms of form, it's pretty mixed for Leeds. 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat through 3 games. But picking up 3 points against Everton and a draw against Newcastle are some really good results to build the bedrock on what will be their case for survival this season. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, the last encounter between these sides saw Fulham winning at Craven Cottage. Wilson and Pereira gave Fulham a 2-0 lead before a Paulinho own goal in the 79th minute could have sparked a Leeds comeback. However, they weren't able to score a goal in their own right, with the score finishing 2-1. Longer term, that win made it back-to-back victories for Fulham over Leeds, after a spell where Leeds had back-to-back wins over Fulham in the 2020-2021 season, so fairly even in terms of recent history. My prediction for today's game is that this match does look like it's going to be a dull affair. Both sides combined for a record of just 1 win in 6 Premier League games and a total of 3 goals scored. I think when you take a look at the numbers created from both sides, it's going to be a low-scoring match, and I'm looking at unders here. Fulham have seen under 2.5 goals in all 3 Premier League games and in all 4 matches across all competitions. Whereas Leeds, they've seen under 2.5 goals in 2 of their 3 Premier League games, with the only over being the 5-0 loss to Arsenal, and Fulham, they certainly can't compete with the Gunners' attacking talent. In terms of head-to-head record, none of the last 4 Premier League encounters saw under 2.5 goals, but this sample does come across 2 separate seasons which occurred 2 and 4 years ago respectively, so I don't think it really holds that much weight. Based on this season, however, I struggle to see there being a hatful of goals here, which means of course I could always put myself in a position to eat my own hat next episode. However, right now I'm going to back under 2.5 goals for a half stake here in bet number 3. Our fourth and final pick in today's episode sees 14th place Burnley playing host to first place Liverpool. And Burnley, they suffered their second defeat of the season against Manchester United in their last match. Josh Cullen, who was very much the hero from the Sunderland win, turned villain as his own goal broke the deadlock for Manchester United. Lyle Foster would then go on to level the scores early in the second half, but some complacency thereafter saw Brian Mbeumo bag his first Manchester United goal to restore the Red Devils' lead not 2 minutes later, directly from the kickoff. Jadon Anthony would then score the second equaliser of the game, and Burnley thought their job was done and they had held out for a fantastic point away at Old Trafford. But late on, Ahmad's shirt was tugged in the box, which allowed Bruno Fernandes to take a penalty to win the game. Now, Bruno managed to skillfully avoid the officials in his setup for this penalty kick, and he converted to see Manchester United win the game at the death. It was a match which Manchester United did have the better of the play, and on the balance of the numbers probably deserved the win. However, my sympathies are with Burnley as they almost got over the line to earn a point. In terms of form, Burnley have seen 2 losses in their 3 games this season. Spurs and Manchester United defeats sandwiched the 3 points picked up against Sunderland in what has been a really challenging start for the Clarets. After the Liverpool game, they'll go on to face Nottingham Forest, Manchester City and Aston Villa before the next easier game in Leeds. They host a Liverpool side who put down an early marker in the title race with their 1-0 win against Arsenal. Statistically, it was a bit of a naff game, and Arsenal really managed to stop Liverpool from playing on the road. So in that respect, it was a good away performance from the Gunners. However, despite some small chances here and there, neither side really looked like scoring. That was, however, until Szoboszlai banged a free kick from 30 yards to capture all 3 points for Liverpool. The only true moment of brilliance in the game to capture the win. In terms of form, it's 3 wins from 3 for Liverpool. They're one of 3 unbeaten sides along with Crystal Palace and Chelsea. They are the only perfect side left in the division. When we take a look at the head-to-head record, the last encounter between these sides took place in February of 2024 at Anfield. Liverpool won by 3-1 thanks to Jota, Diaz and Nunez, all 3 of which are no longer at the club. Longer term, Liverpool have won each of the last 5 Premier League games against Burnley, and for the last time the Clarets picked up 3 points, we have to go back to January of 2021, where an Ashley Barnes penalty saw Sean Dyche's side pick up a 1-0 win at Anfield. My prediction for today's game is that this is a fairly open and shut case for me. Liverpool's attack has looked too hot to handle this season, with the only recent exception being the Arsenal game. Now, as much respect as I can give to Burnley, they don't have Gabriel and Saliba at the back, and I can't really see a world where Liverpool don't score at least 1 and probably 2 if we're being honest. That leaves me with the simple choice of backing Liverpool for a full stake here in bet number 4. To round off today's episode. So there we have it, 3 picks in today's episode, starting off with Bournemouth versus Brighton. I'm backing both teams to score at odds of 1.64, a £25 half stake to return 16. Crystal Palace versus Sunderland, I'm going to be backing the home side at odds of 1.71, a half stake of £25 to return 17.75. The third game on the Saturday is Fulham Leeds. I'm taking under 2.5, odds of 1.71, a £25 full stake should actually return 17.75, apologies there. And the final game of the episode and the only selection on the Sunday in the Premier League, Burnley-Liverpool, I'm going to be backing the reigning champions to pick up 3 more points and continue their perfect start to the season at odds of 1.37, a £50 full stake to return £18.50. So across the weekend we're going to be risking £125 to hopefully pick up as much as £70 in kind. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Don't forget to check out the continental picks in the pinned comment down below, and as always, have yourself a lovely day.